She broke into his garage at 2 a.m., thinking she'd uncover something dangerous. But what she found wasn't a secret weapon. It was a smart defense system ready to stop intruders like her. In that moment, the real threat wasn't what was hidden inside. It was her fear of what she didn't understand. And when the truth came out, the whole neighborhood saw him differently. If you feel drawn in, make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow we have a story that will leave you speechless. I didn't move here to get attention. In fact, I moved here to finally be left alone. For over 20 years, I worked on high-level military technology. Some of the systems I helped build were so secret, they still don't officially exist. My life back then was full of pressure, noise, and danger. When I retired, all I wanted was peace. I found a quiet house at the end of a cul-de-sac. It wasn't fancy, just a small, simple home with a garage. But that's exactly what I was looking for. A place where nobody asked questions. A place where I could live quietly without any drama. I planned to fix up old motorcycles, maybe take on a few small jobs if needed. Mostly, I just wanted time to breathe, to enjoy life at my own pace. No headlines, no government agencies, no more secrets. The garage became my safe space. I put in strong, reinforced doors, not because I was hiding anything dangerous, but because I liked feeling secure. After years of working in war zones, a little extra protection made me sleep better at night. The neighborhood seemed normal. Lawns were trimmed. People waved when they passed by. Kids rode their bikes. There was an HOA, but I didn't think much of it. I figured they cared more about trash cans and mailboxes than anything serious. During my first week, I kept to myself. I unpacked boxes, set up my tools, and started getting the garage in order. I only left the house once or twice. I liked the quiet. It was the kind of quiet I hadn't felt in years. Not just the lack of sound, but the lack of stress. For a short time, I truly believed I had found what I'd been looking for. A simple life, a safe place, a chance to just be normal. I didn't need to be part of the neighborhood events. I didn't want to make a scene. I wasn't hiding from anything. I just wanted a break from everything. But peace doesn't always last. I didn't know it yet, but something was already starting to change. Someone had noticed me, and soon everything I had tried to leave behind would come knocking at my door. The trouble started sooner than I expected. I was still unpacking boxes in my garage when I saw her for the first time. Middle-aged, neat hair, clipboard in hand, walking straight toward my driveway like she owned it. She introduced herself as Karen. Her handshake was firm, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked around with sharp eyes like she was scanning a crime scene. "Just checking if your mailbox meets HOA height requirements," she said, pointing at it with her pen. I nodded and gave a small grunt. I didn't think much of it. I was new to the neighborhood, and maybe this was her way of welcoming people, strict but not personal. But I was wrong. Within 2 days, she filed her first complaint. She claimed there was strange humming coming from my garage. What she didn't know was that I had a power core running a quiet diagnostic. Nothing dangerous, just some tools doing system checks. Next came a complaint about my trash bins. She said they looked armored. In truth, they were just reinforced plastic. Stronger than average, sure, but hardly a crime. Then she reported my landscaping. Apparently using gravel instead of mulch made my yard look intimidating. I tried to stay calm. I waved politely when I saw her. I didn't confront her. I thought if I stayed quiet, she would lose interest. But Karen wasn't looking for trouble to solve. She was looking for something to control. What surprised me the most wasn't Karen, though. It was a boy named Eli. He lived 2 houses down, maybe 10 years old, curly hair, always wearing a t-shirt with dinosaurs or spaceships. He passed by my garage every day on his scooter. At first, he just glanced inside. Then one day, he stopped and stared. "What's that thing?" he asked, pointing at one of my machines. I smiled and opened the garage door just a little. "It's a tool," I said. "It can think a little." His eyes lit up. "Like a robot?" "Kind of." He nodded seriously, like I just told him a big secret. The next day, he came back with a drawing. It showed a robot with laser eyes and a cape. I laughed harder than I had in years. I didn't tell him what I was really building. Yes, they were tools, but also prototypes, technology that could save lives in dangerous places the world forgets. Over time, Eli started sitting on the curb while I worked. He would sketch robots, ask questions, and listened to the hum of my machines. It was nice, peaceful, but Karen noticed. Karen stood in front of the group pointing at a slideshow. One big image filled the screen. My garage door. "This is what we're talking about," she said. "Opaque panels, military-grade locks, no transparency. This is not safe for a community." Someone in the back mumbled, "He just likes privacy." Karen spun around. "Privacy is important, but this isn't privacy. This is secrecy, and secrecy invites danger." I raised my hand slowly. She narrowed her eyes but nodded. "My garage isn't a meth lab. It's not a bomb shelter. And it's not a robot army," I said calmly. "It's a certified private workshop, approved under residential zoning laws. I even brought copies of the permit if anyone wants to read it." No one moved. "And if we're really concerned about secrets," I added, "maybe we should inspect Karen's browser history too, for balance." A few people laughed. One man snorted into his coffee. Karen didn't flinch. "This isn't a joke, Mr. Dawson. You could be endangering all of us." "Only if someone's foolish enough to break in," I replied, just loud enough. Her jaw tightened. The board voted. Unless I violated a specific HOA rule, they couldn't force an inspection. Karen didn't like it, but the rules were on my side. Still, I knew she wasn't finished. Later that night, as I walked home, Karen was waiting for me on the path outside the clubhouse. "You think this is over?" she asked, arms crossed. "No," I said. "I think you'll keep pushing until something pushes back. I'm doing this for the safety of the neighborhood." "No," I said again, more firmly this time. "You're doing this because you don't understand what's behind that door. And when people don't understand something, they either leave it alone or they try to control it." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked into the night. That was the last time she spoke to me directly. But she wasn't done. The next few nights were strange. My motion sensors picked up movement at odd hours, someone walking just outside the detection range. My trash bins were moved slightly, almost like someone was testing if I'd notice. A ball appeared in my yard again, but no one came to pick it up. Then Thursday came. There was no HOA, no inspection, but at 2:03 a.m., an alarm went off. Silent. Only I could hear it. It was coming from the east side of the house, my doggy door. I don't own a dog. I got out of bed already half dressed. My garage camera showed her, Karen, wearing black workout clothes, covered in grease, dragging a yoga mat across my floor like she was trying to slide under tripwires. "Unauthorized storage, probably illegal," she muttered to herself. The targeting system clicked on. The suppression net was primed. I had 90 seconds before it would activate and wrap her up like a spring-loaded trap. I sprinted to the garage, shouting, "Voice override!" The system paused. She screamed as she slipped on some spilled coolant and fell behind a workbench. Then she saw it all. Prototypes, tech, labels, wires. "You're building weapons," she shouted. I shook my head slowly. "That's a wrench. It adjusts to vibration feedback." "You're lying." "You're trespassing," I said. "And this is a federal-level certified workshop. You just broke into it. That's not curiosity, Karen. That's a felony." She went quiet. Then, without a word, she stood up, wiped the grease from her legs, and stormed out. After Karen broke into my garage, everything felt different. She didn't call the police. She didn't file a report. She just stormed off, covered in synthetic grease, with her pride trailing behind her like a ripped-up yoga mat. But I knew it wasn't over. By noon the next day, 2 police officers knocked on my door. "Mr. Dawson?" one asked, polite but alert. "That's me," I said, stepping onto the porch with a cup of coffee in hand. "Let me guess. Karen?" They exchanged a look. "Just following up on a reported confrontation." I didn't argue. I invited them inside and showed them the security footage. Karen sneaking in, crawling across the garage floor, muttering nonsense, slipping on the coolant and triggering one of my test devices. One officer chuckled. The other tried not to laugh. "This is better than some of our training videos," one of them said. They asked what I did for a living. I gave them the vague but truthful version, consulting. Tactical systems, government adjacent. They nodded. They didn't push. They shook my hand and left, leaving behind a warning clearly meant for Karen, not me. But the real hit came the next day. A new HOA flyer landed in every mailbox, printed in bold red Comic Sans. Emergency community meeting. Unregulated military activity suspected. Subtlety was not Karen's strength. Out of principle, I went. The meeting room looked like a sad dentist's office. Plastic chairs, weak coffee, and tension thick enough to chew. Karen stood at the front again, shaking slightly as she clicked through a new slideshow. "This is serious," she said, pointing at blurry, zoomed-in photos of my garage. "I've heard noises. I've seen strange equipment. This is a threat to our community." I waited for her to finish, then stood slowly. "Let's be clear," I said calmly. "Karen broke into my private, federally permitted workshop. She triggered a legal anti-intrusion system. She got caught. Now she's trying to blame me because she didn't like what she saw." A few neighbors chuckled. One woman leaned over and whispered something that made the guy next to her snort. Karen's face turned red. "This isn't about me," she insisted. "It's about safety. Who needs biometric locks unless they're hiding something?" I folded my arms. "Or unless they're keeping dangerous people out." That shut her up, for now. The board ruled in my favor. No HOA code had been broken. No new inspections would happen unless the rules were rewritten. And even Karen knew she didn't have the support for that. She left the meeting in a storm of whispers. But even as I won, I felt no joy. I wasn't thinking about Karen. I was thinking about Eli. He hadn't stopped by in days. No sketches on my fridge, no curious questions, no silly robot drawings. His parents must have seen the flyers. Maybe they believed them. Maybe they just wanted to keep him safe. I didn't blame them, but that didn't make the silence any easier. That night I sat on my porch listening to the quiet. Not peaceful quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like something is missing. I had come to this place to disappear, but now I was a mystery people feared, a headline in their own neighborhood. A few days later, another HOA flyer appeared, but this time it wasn't from Karen. It was an official notice from the board. Community Technology Demonstration. Learn about home safety innovations. I smiled, because I knew who was behind it. I made a call to an old friend, Lieutenant Miguel Ramirez. We had worked together years ago. He was still in the system, now helping bridge military tech with civilian use. When I told him what was happening, he laughed. "Sounds like a sitcom. Feels more like a siege. Want me to drop a Black Hawk on her lawn?" "Tempting," I said, "but I have a better idea." Together, we set up a full demonstration. The city approved it quickly. Turns out someone higher up had a sense of humor. It would be legal, public, and entirely above board. His team would bring demo gear. I'd handle the neighborhood messaging. The night before the event, I found a drawing rolled up at my front door. Crayons on printer paper. A smiling robot labeled Defender. Two kids stood beside it like superheroes. One of them had curly hair. The other, I wasn't sure. Maybe it was supposed to be me. Taped to the back was a sticky note. "I know you're one of the good guys. E." I stood in the garage for a long time holding that drawing. The machines hummed around me like a quiet heartbeat. Karen had been building a case against me, but I had been building something too. Trust. The next morning we set up in front of the HOA clubhouse. Folding chairs, lemonade, curious neighbors. Miguel's team arrived dressed like friendly tech reps. No military badges, just clean, smart, safe tech. We showed the crowd how motion sensors worked, how drones could patrol backyards without invading privacy, how tripwire alerts could help detect real threats. Every feature looked just like my own system, but now explained out loud, it didn't seem so scary. Karen arrived late, wearing sunglasses and holding her clipboard like a life jacket. She froze when she saw Miguel's team unloading a biometric vault onto the lawn. Then came the twist. Miguel clicked to a new slide. A crude drone signal captured in the area. Unencrypted, illegal, traced back to one place. Karen gasped. Then he handed the mic to me. "Mr. Dawson," he said, "would you like to show your prototype?" I pressed a button. My garage across the street opened. A small gray device rose up and waved. It projected a message in midair. "Neighborhood Watch 2.0. We've got your back." The kids clapped. One whispered, "No way!" The board president stood and handed me a certificate. Certified Safe Resident, Community Technology Contributor. Karen disappeared into the clubhouse bathroom and didn't come out for 30 minutes. The mood shifted. People laughed, smiled. Someone asked if I could help install motion lights. Someone else brought me lemonade. The neighborhood had seen the truth, and I hadn't needed to fight to prove it. Things didn't go back to normal right away, but something had definitely changed. After the demonstration, neighbors who once looked the other way now waved when they passed. Some even crossed the street just to say hello. The silence that had once felt cold and suspicious now felt calm and open. Karen's house, once the unofficial surveillance station of the neighborhood, went dark. Curtains closed. Mail piled up. No more clipboards, no more patrol walks. Rumor had it she stepped down from the HOA for medical reasons. Others said the board finally told her to stop. I didn't ask. I didn't care. What mattered was this. She was gone. But the neighborhood was still here, and it was changing. One afternoon, Mr. Halley from 3 doors down brought over a full smoked brisket. "Help me set up a garage camera?" he asked. I said yes. Then Sheila, the woman who once reported me for not trimming my lawn, offered to host a potluck. "For everything you've done," she said, blushing, "and for making Karen cry a little." Apparently that had bonded people more than I realized. The weekend after, the cul-de-sac transformed. Folding tables, lawn chairs, cupcakes with drone toppers, even a karaoke machine. Kids ran around pretending to be security bots. One of them wore a cape labeled HOA Defense Force, powered by Rex. I pretended not to notice. I smiled anyway. Then Eli showed up, holding a plastic toolbox almost as big as he was. "Want to help me build a motion alarm for my treehouse?" he asked. "Only if you promise not to point it at squirrels," I replied. "No promises," he grinned. Halfway through the event, the HOA board arrived. Not with complaints, but with a certificate printed on fake parchment paper. It read, Honorary HOA Defense Specialist, Defender of Driveways. Ridiculous, but I'll admit, it meant something. Before they left, the board president leaned in. "We're rewriting the HOA rules," he said quietly. "No more surprise garage inspections. No more drone loopholes. You shut her down so hard we had to change the whole system." I just nodded, because that was never my goal. I hadn't wanted revenge. I had wanted peace, and maybe now I'd found it. My garage became something new, a place where neighbors came for help, where kids came to learn, where quiet didn't mean fear anymore. One night I stepped outside and saw a store-bought drone flying over the park. A teenager down the block looked over and waved. I waved back. Karen had tried to tear me down because she didn't understand. But in the end, she helped me build something better. A little trust, a little respect, and a neighborhood that finally felt like home. In a world where misunderstanding often turns into judgment, this story reminds us of the power of patience, truth, and quiet strength. It's not just about security systems or HOA meetings. It's about how one black man, carrying years of experience and pain, chose not to fight with anger, but with grace. His calm defiance, his steady hand, and his open heart slowly unraveled the false narratives around him. These are the kinds of emotional stories we rarely hear loud enough, where resilience doesn't roar, it hums, where dignity lives not in shouting back, but in showing up again and again with integrity. If you've ever been misunderstood, if you've ever felt like your story was left untold, this is for you. We share these narrated stories because they matter, because behind every quiet man, every silent garage, every shadowed porch light, there may be a lifetime of unraveled fates waiting to be seen. If this story moved you, please share it. Let others feel what you felt. The world needs more stories like this, and more people willing to listen.